Hi, I'm Keanu and this is my audience. Today, for my speech, I'm going to advocate for the Electoral College system. The Electoral College system is a constitutional process for the way in which we elect our president and vice president. It's made up of electors whom we vote for directly. These representatives and senators make up the electors per each state, and those electors actually go out and are the people that cast their ballot and their vote for the president based on the way the state voted inside of the election. The reason why we have an electoral college, it was created for a couple of reasons, just for the foundation. Its first purpose was created to put a buffer between the president and the election of a president and the population itself. The second, as part of the structure of the government, they gave extra power to the smaller states. The reason why is they wanted to make sure the majority never ruled the minority voice to try to ensure that every vote mattered. There's some points that I wanted to make out for the reasons for the Electoral College. The first one is that the system actually requires each candidate to have widespread popularity in multiple regions of the country. We can see this as the California or the Texas effect. Basically, what happens is it makes each state matter in the way that it's actually voting. The reason why it's called the California-Texas effect is because California, which is a popular blue Democratic state, and Texas, which is a popular red Republican state, have a lot of pull in their electoral votes. So, for instance, in the last one, I believe Texas had 38 and California had 55. It ensures that California or New York or Florida or a Texas doesn't hold all the power in deciding one election. And what it does for the candidates in particular is makes them focus on states, not just cities in which they're giving out their platform. Another one is it enhances the status of minority interest. The best way to see this is between things such as the Rust Belt or the big banks. So the Rust Belt is places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, places like that. And then big banks would be anywhere in your Northeast, your New Yorks and stuff like that. It protects against the elitist having the most power in the political realm and the economic realm to just controlling an entire election. And the reason it does this is it gives these states in the Rust Belt an actual opportunity to have their own electoral votes and their own say in what they're doing. Third great thing of what it does, it enables a two-party system versus an issue-centered platform. The reason this is important is because the reason the Electoral College works so well is we're trying to get to a majority of the country without a direct popular vote. And the way this accomplishes this is when you have a two-party system, you can have, say, a 51 to 49 majority, versus if you had an issue-centered platform, you could have 10 different people on the ballot, for instance, and one person could get 11% of the vote, and boom, they're your president. And that's what you're trying to avoid when 90% of the country would disagree with that president. So it enables two parties, the Republican and Democrats, versus parties like the civil liberties and global warming or whatever the case is. So at least this has sub-levels in its own platform versus just having 10 separate ones. Again, there's not a limit on the amount of people that are allowed to be on the ballot, but it does limit the minority points in that being. And then the last one that I have there is it gives actual result to representation through our congressional system. What this means is, when I mentioned earlier by the electoral votes, the way we get them is through through our census, which happens every 10 years. And so the electoral votes will actually move state to state based on population. So if everyone, for instance, were to leave California and come to Colorado, then a bunch of electoral votes would swing over to Colorado. So that's the way the Founding Fathers were able to kind of give a direct vote, but at the same time keeping the Electoral College placed in the system. And so it does actually have a direct popular vote based on population and swinging of those. And so that's how that one works. And the reason why this actually matters is for reasons such as our most recent election. In 2016, Donald Trump actually swung some electoral votes in the swing states. The swing states were actually the Rust Belt. And the reason that's important is because those were the minority voices that were out there. Your big states such as your Texas and your New Yorks and Californias were being heard. But states such as Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, for instance, which have strongly been blue states, heard the platform from Donald Trump and they swung over based on their electoral votes. So that's how the Electoral College actually proves that it works based on not using a direct popular vote. It's based on that entire system, and that's how you get while you combat the popular vote, you're able to go with the electoral system, and that is why you should like the electoral college system.